Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday to come join me and get this nice sneak peek. It's going to be a smaller group than our webinar last week. So I think everyone should be able to get in this week, no problem. So while you're coming in, let me know who's here, who you are, and where you're watching from. And make sure your chat, as always, is set to everyone in that little blue box. Make sure you click that arrow and change it from host and panelist to everyone. So you're writing to everyone. Hey, Ellen, good to see you back from New Jersey. Janet, good to see you from Iowa. Steve, good to see you too from Michigan. Hey, Carol from Fort Wayne. Carol, are you going to the German Genealogy Conference next summer in Fort Wayne? Hey, Tracy from Tennessee. Hey, Dave. Dave's one of our premium members. We'll get to look at one of his questions today. That's great that you're going, Carol. Is anyone else planning on going to the German Genealogy Conference next June? Hello, Melissa and Renee. Good to see some Treese. Good to see some familiar names. Oh, Ellen, good. I'll be glad to see you there. Carol, other Carol from Fort Wayne. We got two Carols from Fort Wayne. Glad you're going. Doug, good to see you. Hey, Lynn, all these familiar names. It's really nice to see all of you. Tracy's going to attend virtually. Yeah, I love this new hybrid version. I'm so excited to be back in person, but I realize that not everyone can be. So I love that they're doing most conferences are doing virtual and in person. Hello, Carol from Lima. Carol, good to see you. I'm hoping to talk. The proposals are due this Friday, and I am still catching up on emails from the webinar last week. So I need to finish those emails and then get my proposals in to the presentations committee by Friday. So I'm hoping to. All right, let's see. I think it is. Let's see. About on the hour. Hey, Christine. So, and you're from Nevada, great. And Carol's, you're expecting to meet you in person next year. I'd love to get to meet a lot of you. You too, Carol. Probably not. We'll see. Right now, the baby is 9 months old, so it'll be about a year and a half at that point. We'll see. We'll see how things are going. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine how things will be at that point. So we'll see. All right. So thank you all for coming to watch Ask the Translator. So as you can see, it is a private Facebook group where members can post documents that they are having trouble with. So post their German records where they are having trouble deciphering certain words. And then they write their questions for me. And then I go in and look at those questions and answer them. So we meet every Wednesday at this time. It's 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. And we do have a number of people who might work or just can't get to the group at this time, and that's no problem. A lot of people will then post their question the night before, a few hours before. I'll answer it during these office hours, and then they can come back and find the answer when they're free. However, if you can attend live, it's even better because sometimes I have questions for you about your document and we can kind of talk back and forth. So I do want to let you know, normally I am not on video during these. Normally it's just me reading your questions and then you'll see me typing the answers. It's a lot of research that I do. And so to be on video while I'm answering these is a lot of on the spot. So normally I like to just take my time, be able to look at the websites and then get you your answers typed. But to show you what it's like, I decided to go on video today. All right, so this is the group. Dave is on here. So Dave, we'll start with your question. Dave has had some really great documents. He's had some very, very interesting scandals and causes of death. Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the causes of death was that someone was run over by a wagon. Was that correct? And he's had some interesting scandals as well. So this is how kind of the format of the group works. So what I usually do is just give a little like to all the questions to let everyone know that I've seen them. Today is a smaller group, maybe because they knew we were going to be on camera. So there's 3 questions today. So let them know I'm here. Yes, bled to death by being run over by a wagon. That does not sound pleasant. So let's look at Dave's question. So what I will do is I'll usually click on it and we'll read it together. So he went back to his scandals folder for a more interesting question this week. Let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see it. This is a marriage record that is different from the others on the page as it highlights a need for further instruction in prayer. So he's having some trouble with a few words before and after the third and fourth Sundays after Easter, and with the phrase in the last line. So how this usually works is people can ask me 3 questions per session. If we have a smaller number of people asking, like today, then you're welcome to ask me as many questions as you like. And sometimes people like to double check their transcription and translation. And if we have time, then I'll get to those extra questions after I've answered everybody's 3. So Dave luckily posted the actual link to the original because it's important that I'm able to see everything. So I've gone ahead and downloaded that already. Oops, I was going to do another one first. Let me get Dave's down here for us. This is the next one. Got it. And now Dave's disappeared, of course. Let me download it again. Save it. Where did it go? There. Of course, nothing ever works like it's supposed to. Now I've lost, can't find where my computer's putting Dave's document. So let's just look at it on here. We'll look at it on Ancestry. Actually, I'd really like to find it because it's easier if you can see it side by side. You can see there it is, my messy screen. Here it is, okay. No, that's not it. Oh, I found it. It's hidden down at the bottom. There it is. All right, here we are. So we'll get this here. And then Dave wrote me his transcription and translation of what he's come up with. All right, everyone still with me? Can you give me a yes in the chat if you're still here watching, still here with me? Everyone can see the screen? Perfect. Thank you, Tracy and Ellen. Perfect. Great. Okay. So he's looking, this is a 1797 document, and he's looking at number 2. Now in the chat, tell me how many of you have had experience with the handwriting before? Let me know if you feel like you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. All right, perfect. Okay, so lots of beginners, some intermediate. I do want to say it probably would be good to be at least an intermediate level to join this group because you want to be able to decipher a lot of your document. And then on those words that you have questions with, that's where I come in and help you. So you want to be able to get, I'd say, at least 3/4 of the document by yourself. And then I come in and help you with those tricky words that just stump you and you have no idea what they say. So let's look at Dave's document. So you can see Dave started his transcription already. And I'm going to go ahead and look at it and see how he's doing. So here we can see he has Johann. If you see here, this is a great tip for those of you who might not know that. This line above the letter N means that there should be 2 N's. So you might see a straight line above an N or an M. And if you see that in your documents, that means you should double that letter. So Dave knew that. We have Johann, Adam, Hoffman. Again, we had that straight line over the N, doubling the N. And so one of his questions, or one of the things that I noticed in his transcription, is he had Bergerlin here. And Dave, what I think that is, this is just some kind of fancy swoop, and that just means Berger und. So this U is just the und. So Berger und, which stands for und, Inwohner. So he was a citizen and a resident. And a Gärtner, which means a vintner, the vineyard person. Okay, so Dave luckily got the rest. Moving on, this word is all here. I'm going to type this in the chat. This is a great word to know. You might see it with one word or one L or two L's, and that is just a word meaning that the person is from here. So the location of the record is where the person comes from. So Dave got that. Then he has Ehrlich. Now, Dave, this might be a typo on your part, but it would be, I looked it up, and that's just Ehrlich, which is here. This is our word Ehrlich, Ehellich. Yeah, I figured, Dave. And that means, anyone know what Ehrlich means besides Dave? I bet some of you know. Yep, Tracy got it. Legitimate. So Ehrlich means legitimate. Then it's the ledigen Sohn. So he got that. So he's the legitimate unmarried son. And then we have Anna. So we have that line over the N. So we're going to double that N. Anna Sophia. And then Dave, instead of der here, it's going to be des. Doesn't really change your meaning. So des, this is a great word to know for all of you who might not know it yet. D-E-S. Des means of the. So it's a possessive word. So you're usually going to see it when you're looking at a relationship. So we have Anna Sophia, des, zusammen. Great job, Dave. Zusammen, Friedrich, Johann. I missed a word. There we go. Johann, Friedrich, and then we're going to look at the last name. And then here it's Brandens, is what it says, Brandens. So that means that she is going to be the legitimate or the daughter of, so des means that she is the daughter of, in this case, the daughter of Johann Friedrich. Okay, so Tochter, the word Tochter, daughter will come later, but that des implies that the relationship is either going to be the wife of or the daughter of in this case. And we'll see in a little bit, it's going to say daughter. And he is a Gerichtsbeisitzer in Soldner. Dave did well on the transcription thus far. And then this word, Dave, I think was a little tiny mistake. It's looking at this word here. So it's not aus. Anybody know what it is instead of aus? It's saying also. So he's also from this location. Anyone know what that word also is in German? Perfect. Doug got it. Yep. So that is a very, very normal mistake to make. Aus and auch can look very similar. But this one here is our H. This is an H here. So we'll change that to auch. So he's also from here. And then Dave got it. And Dave, this is an amazing transcription. You're getting 99% of it. So this is very, very good. She's the legitimate unmarried daughter. So go back to our des. So the daughter of the Honorable Johann Friedrich Brandon. Now, this is Dave's real question. So I'm kind of just going, at this point, kind of going above and beyond and doing the whole transcription to kind of show you what we're doing. So Dave's real question is this gap here. And Dave, this is a great question. And I'll tell you what I think about it. So let's go to it on the sheet. So this is what Dave is wondering. What is this part right here? So what it's saying, so we're kind of been going word by word, but I'll give you a little overview of what it's saying. So it's talking about a marriage between Anna Sophia and, I can't remember the groom's name, Georg Adam. So Georg and Anna are getting married. And what it's saying here is that their marriage banns, so the announcement of their impending marriage, were announced on certain dates. Does anyone know how often marriage bans were usually announced? Yep, Trace got it. So 3 times. Yes, exactly. So we have, and Dave got it here. So here it says they were announced mystery time, and then it says the 3rd and the fourth Sunday. Again, we have that line over the end, so 2 ends on Sunday. After Ostern. Anyone know what Ostern is? What special holiday that is in German? Easter, perfect. Yeah, you guys are great. So Easter, no worries if you don't know this. That's why you're here to learn. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, everybody knows this but me. There's a lot of people on here who aren't saying anything. So you're not the only one who doesn't know this. And that's why we're here to learn different things. So the marriage bans were announced. And Dave, this was another question he had. He was wondering what this word is. And that is a great question, a really good one to know. That is, there should be an umlaut, öffentlich. That's an abbreviation for öffentlich. And that means that they were publicly proklamiert, which means publicly announced. So that's a great word to know, Dave. I'm glad you asked that question. It was a very good question. So back to our mystery symbol. To be honest, I'm not sure about this one. Based on the context, I would guess that this is some form of a 2, because the fact that they were announced on the 3rd Sunday and the 4th Sunday after Easter, I would guess it would probably be saying the 2nd Sunday after Easter as well. What I tried to do, and this is a good tip, if you can't figure out something on your record, go look at the other records and see if there's anything that might give you a tip in the other records, because the formatting of the records was the same. So the word order was usually the same from record to record. So if you get confused on your record, check out another record and see if a word is easier to read there. So here it says, we have our nach Ostern, after Easter, öffentlich proklamiert. So if we didn't know what that öffentlich was above, that abbreviation, we could go down to the record below, and there they wrote it out in the full word. So that would be a good way to figure out what that abbreviation means as well. But look here, when were they announced? We have D. Anybody know what that D stands for? It's Latin. It's a Latin word for Sunday. I don't, now that I'm asking you, close, Doug. Sometimes it is D, but I think this is like Domenica or something, some Latin variation of that. It's a Latin word for Sunday, is basically what it is. And it's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Sunday after Easter. So that the fact that this shows me that this is saying the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd gives me more confidence that this is probably the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So Dave, I can't answer your question 100%, but based on the context and based on the other entry, I would guess that would be the 2nd. Okay, so that was Dave's first question. What is this mystery word? His second question was, what is this abbreviation? And we answered that. That was our öffentlich, and that means publicly. So let's go back to Dave's list. We'll write it in here. All right. Since I'm not 100% sure, I'm going to put this in brackets. The second was right then. Can you all read this okay? Is it big enough for you to read it? Great, thanks, Carol. There are little tiny grammar things in here, like this should be an N, things like that I'm not worrying about right now because they're not changing the meaning, and they won't change Dave's meaning either. And then, so basically what this is saying here is Johann Adam and Anna Sophia, where their marriage bans were publicly announced the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Sundays after Easter. And then on the following Monday, Montags darauf, it probably should be there, in der Betestunde. So that was something I had to look up. I haven't heard of the word Betestunde before. And honestly, I first thought that it was a misspelling of Bettstunde, and I thought that might be an old-fashioned word for some kind of marriage thing, because I have seen something to do with a bed before in church records. But I looked it up, so I'm going to show you a website that I used. And this is called Wörterbuch. I'll type it in the chat. That's .de. And I was basically getting too smart for my own good. I'm like, oh, that must be that old-fashioned bet word that has something to do with marriage. I'm so smart that I know it's two T's in that one. I was wrong. So I typed it in to this old-fashioned dictionary. And for those of you who don't know this website, this is a collection of dictionaries published, I believe, in the 1800s. So it's a dictionary of a lot of old-fashioned words that you won't be able to find in modern dictionaries anymore. So I use these for the office hours a lot. So I press search. This is our search. And nothing comes up. So then I was like, maybe I was wrong. So then I was like, maybe it really was Betstunde, like they meant. And sure enough, words came up. So don't always take it from me. Don't always try to overcomplicate things. So Betstunde, these are the different dictionaries. These little squares are different dictionaries. And it is all German to German. These were 1800s dictionaries for German speakers. But what you can do if you don't speak German is you can just copy and paste the definition into this website, deepl.com. Okay, so let's see what it says. Yeah, it's not really a great definition. So what I did, as this is a definition. So what I did, because I was like, oh, that's a lot and sounds complicated. What I then did, let me move my Zoom thingy. I went to Google, typed in Betstunde Ahnenforschung. Ahnenforschung is the word for genealogy in German. So sometimes that helps to give Google a better idea of what we're looking for. So I'll type that in the chat. It's the word for genealogy. And this website came up, ahnenforschung.net, and it's talking about the day of the wedding in Württemberg. And Dave, I believe your record came from that area. So this was perfect. So this helped me to understand that a Betstunde was just kind of a specific service where people got married. So I don't think it was a full mass or a full service. It was more, let's see, I read about it earlier. Let's see if I can find where I read about it. Yeah, so it says in Württemberg, the couples who already had a relationship before marriage were married during this Betstunde. So Dave, so normally I'm typing all these answers in the chat in the underneath the post here. So now I'm kind of talking and it's hard to do both at the same time. But Dave, I'll put that in there for you. And I will put this link in there too. So it looks like Betstunde might be something for Baden-Württemberg. And it might have something to do with people who had a relationship before marriage. But we'd have to do a little bit more research to be sure. But hopefully that helps a little bit, Dave. So that's the Betstunde. And that wasn't even his question. I just got sidetracked myself. And then so they were married on the following Monday after the marriage, after the fourth Sunday of Easter. And then Dave had a question on this part, and that was a little bit confusing. But I think let's look at this word first. So this word here, that's the word that I'm looking at. It does definitely look like gehabe. But I think, Dave, it would just make more sense to be gehalten. So that gehalten means held. So after the sermon was held, usually there'd be a little ending on it like that. So I think it must be something like that. After the sermon was held. And then this is Dave's question. Good question, because I'm sure a lot of you think, yes, all those words are confusing. What this is, it says, auf dem altar. So the sermon was held on the altar. We'll write it here. And if we didn't know, Dave, I was a little like, what is this last word here first? And I was like, the context helped me. But something else that helps is, again, looking at the other records. If we look down here, there's our gehaltener word. Look how much clearer this phrase is here, auf dem Altar. This altar is much more clear than in Dave's record. So because records were written a lot of times using the same phrases, it really, really helps to look at those other records and see, oh, before I spend all these hours trying to figure out this word that's so hard to read, let me see if it's a little bit easier in someone else's record. So I use this trick a lot for myself all the time. All right, so we got that part. Let's see what this is. And Dave was understandably confused. And to be honest, this took me a while too, Dave. I was first looking at it and I thought it said nach ihrem Wegehen. To me, this looked like a Wegehen. So I went back to my old dictionaries, like maybe it's a word I don't know, and no luck. So I was like, all right, it must be something else. I figured it out, luckily, because of the context. But what you could do, if we weren't positive that this word is a W, we could go back to our Wörterbuch. And this works a lot in, with a wildcard as well. So we could put a wildcard for that W mystery letter that we didn't know. And see what words come up for that letter combination. And those are the words that use that letter combination, but luckily we're only missing one letter, so we can ignore all those really long words. And the word that we're looking for is begehren, which is one of these ones. And that just means according to their desire. So they wanted to get married. So that is the mystery word that we're looking for, begehren. So we have the whole thing. So what this is, and Dave did a great job with his translation as well. I'm going to just kind of translate it, reading it real quick. So Johann Adam Hoffman, a citizen and a resident and a vine tender from here, the legitimate unmarried son. No, oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed something. So this has an S on it. Why it doesn't have his name though? That's oh, there's his name. Okay, that's why I was so confused. Okay, thank you, Dave. I was looking, I was like, where did the name go? That doesn't make any sense. So for those of you who are like, what's going on right now? This S on Johann Adam Hoffman's, that is not his last name. His last name does not end in an S. If you've taken the German for genealogy course, you would know that that S is the possessive. So here is what I was missing before I didn't see his name. Georg Adam, thanks Dave for pointing that out. Georg Adam Hoffman is the son, here's our son, the legitimate unmarried son of Johann Adam Hoffman. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? So that S works the same as our des. So you have our des and our S being the possessive. And then the son or daughter is at the very end of the phrase. I go way into that in the course and in my church records book. If you're confused right now and you don't have the course, check out my church records book. I explain that very well in there. But that for purposes today, that's just our possessive. So Georg, oh, there it is. Sorry, Dave, you had it all well, and I just ignored it. I'm sorry. So Georg Adam Hoffman, the legitimate unmarried son of Johann Adam Hoffman. And then Georg is a citizen and a tenant and a vine tender from here. And then Anna Sophia, the legitimate unmarried daughter of the Honorable, perfect Dave, Johann Friedrich Brandt. And he is an associate judge and a mercenary from here. Dave, this translation is awesome. You're doing great. Also from here, we should say. And then their marriage bans were proclaimed on the 2nd and third and fourth Sunday after Easter. And then the following Monday in the hour of prayer, which Dave got right away and didn't need all of my ponderings on that Beichtsstunde. After a short sermon was held at the altar, they were married as was their desire, and they got married on the 15th of May, 1797, and the date of marriage checks out perfect, Dave, because Easter was April 16th. So the Monday after the fourth Sunday would be May 15th. Great job, Dave, and great job checking that out. So Dave did a really wonderful job. Just had a couple questions that were on a couple hard to read words, and he got almost 99% of it. So really good job, Dave. Yes, and Carol says, thank you for sharing, Dave. Very, very grateful. It's really nice to have people learn from our work together. Did someone ask me a question? Yeah, Catherine says, for the parts of this record that are much more dim than others on the page, would it help to put it through something like VividPix? Yeah, definitely. VividPix has a great software for doing that. All right, so that was Dave's record. And like I said, normally I would not be doing this live on video. I'm a lot faster if I can just kind of do it myself. So normally I'd be answering all of Dave's questions on here. Dave would be typing back to me. We'd be communicating with our questions and answers via the comments. So great job, Dave. Thank you so much. Dave has had wonderful questions throughout the last couple of weeks, and his records have been a lot of fun to work with. Let's move on to Janice. Janice is being very, very diligent. She doesn't have records of her own right now. She's done a lot of her own records before, but for now, she's just practicing. So she's looking at the records from her ancestors' town and just kind of practicing with other people's ancestors' records. So I think that's great, practicing with the script. So here is her record. It's an 1824 death record. So it's really cool in this group because you can see all different types of records from all different time periods. We have church records like Dave and Janice. We have legal records. We have newspapers. We have letters and diaries. Janice had a cool poem that we were working with for a while, or a song, I think it was. So it really helps you yourself to see other people's records and learn from the different types of handwriting and the different types of vocabulary. Let's go to Janice's record. Let me see if I have it pulled up. Now I'm nervous after I lost Dave's record to somewhere on my computer. This is Janice's record. And her question was, what are these two last names? And one little tip, if you are working with church records, always, always, always print out the entire page, because you want to be able to read the column headings at the top. For example, this says name of the deceased, this says time of death, this says age, and knowing the context of what is in the column in your record is so helpful in deciphering the handwriting. So Janice, let's go to her question. Practicing from the area her ancestors lived. In the first entry for Eva Katarina, she just wants to check out the two surnames. She got Lurch and maybe Bossert. So let's see if she's right. So to me, that looks perfect. L, O with the umlaut, fancy S, C-H. So Janice, good job on the Lurch, looks perfect. Then this one, you were so close, but this is actually one way to write the double S. So can everyone see this? If you see this actually looks like our capital S. For those of you in the handwriting course, you might remember this as our upside down fish S, which is the capital S. But sometimes if it's a double S, you'll see what looks like the capital S and then a diagonal line down before. So this last name is actually Bossert with two S's. So close, Janice, sorry. This one was 100% and this one just missing an S. And if we wanted to double check ourselves, we could go to the website GeoGen, type it in the chat. And Janice, I think your ancestors come from Darmstadt area, I believe, which is near Frankfurt. So let's go see if this is a map of Germany. And when we type the last name into GeoGen, it will show us where the most occurrences of that last name are in Germany. So it's a good way to kind of just double check that the last name exists in the area that you're researching. So we'll type in Luge. And sure enough, look at all of these instances exactly where Janice's ancestors are from. So I would feel pretty confident knowing that that is a correct transcription. Okay. So let's move on to Janice's second question. In the fourth entry for Sibylle, she's having trouble with the word mark. So if you do decide to join our group, it really does help me if you have questions on specific words, if you can kind of underline them or highlight them, if it's easy for you. She says she thinks it's saying that Margareta is still alive, but she's not sure what that word is. All right, let's go take a look. So it's a fourth entry down for Sibylle. And this is the word that she has questions on. So I would look at it. And that word is actually typing in the chat, der Malen. And she was right. The words after it are der Malen noch bei Leben. So she was right. Bei Leben or am Leben means that that person is still alive. Der Malen is related to the word der Malig. Anyone, this is a really hard word. Does anyone happen to know what it means? I'd be very impressed if you do. It's an old-fashioned word, I believe. And it means at the present time. So right now, she's still alive. Sounds a little ominous, but that's what it says. So Janice got the meaning. She knew that that person was still alive, but this word before, it's a good word to know. It's old-fashioned. It just means at the present time. You might also see it before an occupation, like der malige Weber, a weaver at the current time, or der malige not congressman, councilman, or something like that. So that's a good old-fashioned word to know for genealogy. Great questions, Janice. Thank you also for sharing your record. All right, moving on to Carol's. Now, Carol, I have to admit, her records are wonderful to work with, but legal. And legal can be very, very hard because legal German sometimes has lines of sentences that are about 15 lines long. So my brain can sometimes get a little bit challenged from these ones, but Carol has done a great job with working with them. So these are what her documents look like. So she is working on a chart regarding land ownership from the 1800s. And the section below has a couple of words or phrases that she's struggling with, and she's attached in 2 sections because there's multiple pages. So thanks, Carol, for doing that. Let's go over to your documents. And then I already copy and pasted I think I did. There it is. Your notes, and it always is helpful if you do decide to join us. It's always helpful for me for you to give me everything you've done so far. Then I have something to go off with. You know, if I'm looking at multiple documents at once, I have no context for what you've done so far. So the more information that you can give me, the better I'm able to help. I know then what city we're working with, what year we're working with, things like that. So let's pull down Carol's document. And Carol was very smart and included the entire page so I could see the name of the columns as well. So let's go over here. And like we said, it's regarding land ownership. And she's working with, here's the first part. Oh, there we go. Thought I lost it again. All right. She's working with this section right here. So she showed me her transcription already. And this is her translation. So Carol, I have to admit, I was looking at it before because I didn't want to be too on the spot when I was on video, and I like to be a little bit prepared. So I was looking at it right before the session, and it says from her, von ihrem leiblichen ihrem. Sometimes in German, the little endings don't change the meaning, but that's German grammar for you. Biological and father-in-law, the master tailor Peter Hallish. So I was really confused. And I was like, how can someone have a biological father-in-law? threw me off for a minute until I realized I looked at the side and it's talking about these are the people, August Hess and his wife, Justina Henrietta Ney Hollish. So it's two people. So the word ear, anyone know what else it means in German besides her? It's another pronoun. It can mean her, like Carol said. There's one other meaning of it. Yep. Yeah. The other Carol got it. Yeah. There. So that here it's there. So that makes more sense. I was really like trying to think of family relationships. Like, how can someone have a father-in-law that's also their biological father? This, however, means there. So that makes a little bit more sense logistically. So it's from their biological father, I would say, and father-in-law, the master tailor. So Carol got that perfectly. Peter Hollish, and then yes, Carol said she was confused about that too. I was really thinking, I was like, am I just like being stupid? Does this not make any sense? But luckily it was a pronoun thing. But anyway, so from their biological father and father-in-law, the master tailor, Peter. And then this word is a good word to know if you're working with genealogical documents or any German documents. The word laut. For those of you who have had some German, I bet a lot of you might know that word as meaning loud, which it also does. But in genealogical documents and legal documents, and just another meaning of it, it means according to, like Carol got. So according to the court contract of January 11th, 1864, here we are. So let's do the words first, then we'll get the meaning. So this was a word that Carol had a question on, or that I noticed. Where did it go on here? Here it is. Sorry, my Zoom thing is in the way. All right. Where did it go? Here it is. So Carol, you had this kind of combination of words, letters for that. And what this actually is H-A-U-S. But a lot of you know that word. What's that word mean? Sounds like the same in English. I bet a lot of you could guess. House means perfect. Thank you, Tracy. House. Great. They're perfect, girl. Thank you. That word means house. And the rest of these letters are G, E, R, A with an umlaut, T, H. So that is house. And I'm writing these in the chat in case you're not aware. House great. Close, Mika. House great. It should be an umlaut over that A. I put some other weird character. There we go. Oh, no, I didn't spell it right. There we go. And that H at the end is an old-fashioned spelling. That's also something that's good to be aware of in your German documents. If you have a word with an H that you're not finding in a dictionary in the middle or end of a word, that might be an old-fashioned spelling. So what the word is today is just with a T, and that just means household items. If you look it up in a dictionary, you'd see household appliances. But if I was translating it, I would use household items because to me, appliances sounds like microwaves and dishwashers. And I don't think they had those at this point in 1864. So Hausgerät would be this word. No, I typed it down here. So Hausgerät. And then another question here was this word, Carol. Let's see if we can find it. It's on the second page. No, it's combined. So this is the end of that word here. It's the end of it. The beginning is, here it is. So it starts with the A-U-S. Remember, if you have this little swoop over the U, you learned this in the handwriting class. If you have this little swoop over a letter, it's going to be a U. And you can see part of the words written here, but this just means it goes on to the next page. So this is, here's the word, and then they repeat it on the next page. So that word is ausgedinge. And that means a type of cottage on an estate. So that's a specific word for genealogy. And I didn't know that myself. I had to look it up. I'm trying to remember where I looked it up. Let's see if I did it here. I was getting genealogy. That's not the one we're looking at for. Carol, where's your document from? Can you remind me where it's from? Maybe I looked it up in the dictionary. So, oh, interesting. Okay. Because I was getting a lot. Okay, here it is. So here, I just looked it up in the dictionary. This is a great website, dic.leo.org. One of my dictionaries I use a lot. So it's a cottage of estates reserved for use by the parents. So that's a cottage on an estate. Sometimes you get lucky with regular dictionaries. So I was getting and then this word here, I don't think it really changes your meaning, Carol, but I think it's jular. Okay, so those were the couple questions that Carol had. She did a great job with the translation. But what it's basically saying is the again, my brain doesn't think quickly for legal. I have to think a little bit more. But they received as an inheritance, so they were handed down, that's this word, from their biological and father-in-law, the master tailor, Peter Hollish. So I would translate this as Peter Hollish handed down, Peter Hollish, their biological and father-in-law, handed down according to, it's our lout word, according to the legal contract of January 11th, 1864. And then Carol, dead and living inventories, in my understanding, maybe we also say dead and living inventories in English, but I think if I was translating it, I would say movable, immovable, and movable. I think I'm not an expert in that kind of things, but I'm pretty sure that's what we say. Movable and immovable inventories. And then this word for, this is interesting. They write Meubeln. And Carol, you correctly translated it as furniture, but today the German word would be the Möbeln. That's an interesting spelling, and good job, Carol, on getting that that meaning. And the household items. So they receive the household items, the furniture, and the movable and immovable inventory for $500. That's a German currencies. And then against the cottage that we talked about. And then they will, the title for them has been corrected for them by the 16th. And this is a great, and Carol, you got it, same month and year. So Carol got this here in the chat that actually, I don't think it's an I there. It's that should be an S. So it should be that, EJUSD. And that word is a Latin word that means the same, which Carol knew. And then M stands for monat. And et is the Latin for and, or eight. I don't speak Latin. And then A is the Latin for anno, which is year. So the same month and year. And if I was doing this not on video, I would type this out for Carol since we do have time. Like I said, normally people kind of just ask questions or might just have time for questions on certain words. But because we only had 3 questions today, I would have time to kind of type out an entire translation of this little snippet for Carol here after kind of looking at the transcription. But Carol, do you feel like you got the gist of that? Does that make sense for you? Perfect. Awesome. And like as you can see, Carol and Dave and Janice all do amazing jobs. And it's been so amazing and so fascinating for me to see people grow in their understanding of the handwriting throughout their time in the Ask-the-Translator membership. We've had some people who have kind of started off a little unsure and a little, I think so, and a little bit nervous maybe to post. But as the weeks go on, this is a weekly thing. It's been so cool for me to see them get so good at the handwriting. So, like I said, it's great to have a basis to start. I would like everyone joining to have a basis at least to start. But you definitely do not need to be able to decipher every word, because that's the point of the office hours, is trying to get help with those words. So we just finished all the questions. So what I would do now, and I'm not going to do this on video, but I'll show you what I do for other weeks. At the end of our little session, I then do a summary. So anyone who wasn't here or anyone who didn't see everyone's post can benefit from what we learned. So from last week, we learned the word desselben from Janice's post from last week, and that means of the same. So it's usually referring to a person. So maybe a daughter of the same man, so desselben. In Alex's post, we saw that a capital K and R can often get confused with one another. So that's a good tip for people transcribing. If it doesn't make sense with the K, try with an R, etc. We had a good occupation that we learned from Liz's post. Beamte means a type of official. And then Carol was chugging away at a different legal document from last week, and she had a good abbreviation to know, D.JS, which means des Jahres, and of the year. So at the end of each session, I do a little summary so people can all just get a quick overview of different genealogy tips throughout the week. It's really fun. And as you can see here in our media, you get so many different types of documents. So you really can learn, and I post a fun picture at the end of each week too. You really can learn from everyone's documents, whether it be church records, wills, vital records, legal documents, newspapers. So you really get exposed to lots of different handwriting and learn lots of different words. So if you do want to join us, if you're not on Facebook, it is on Facebook, but what we've had people do is sometimes they make a Facebook account using an ancestor's name. So they don't have to give away their private data or anything like that. They just use one of their ancestors' names and join us in this private group with that. But if you are on Facebook, it's easy. You just join the group. Like I said, you don't have to be here live on Wednesdays, but you can post your question ahead of time and then come back and check the answer later. But if you are here live, as you can see, Carol and Dave were, and it's kind of easier to talk back and forth over typing. So this, right now it's $17.99 a month. As with everything, things are getting more expensive, so I'll probably have to increase it soon for for people. But this is the link to sign up. It's a monthly subscription. So if you are doing your genealogy now and then you stop in a couple months, you can always stop it and come back. I think Carol actually did that. So you can use it just for the time you're working on your genealogy. So what you get is you get this Ask-the-Translator office hour every week. It's usually me doing it if I am out of town. My assistant, Marissa, who's also an expert translator, has filled in for me in the past, and she's great. You get access to our Facebook group. 4 times a year, we do a live Ask Me Anything, or some kind of Zoom event with just our premium members. Sometimes we do show and tells where everyone brings their favorite genealogy book or website or resource, and we do kind of like a potluck of shared resources. That's 4 times a year. You get a free vital record reference guide, which is, let's see if I can find it. It's one of these. So those birth, marriage, and death certificate reference guides, you get to pick birth, marriage, or death, and then it's a free cheat sheet showing you how to what that German transcription is of the form, and then what the English translation of the form is as well, and what kind of words you would expect to find in the handwriting. Like this handwritten word is the occupation, this handwritten word is the groom's name, etc. So that's kind of a fun freebie. And then I try to tell my premium members about the webinars ahead of time. If you were with us last week, you know we had a little bit of a webinar snafu, but no worries. I'm going to talk with Zoom, have a meeting set up, and we'll make sure that everyone gets in the next webinar we have. And then you do get access to our monthly articles. And if you're a premium member, the October one will be coming out soon. So each month we have premium articles that only the members get. and they're kind of on topics, all different topics. So the last one was military abbreviations. September's was expert tips for deciphering place names. My word isn't in a dictionary. Now what? And what I usually try to do is I look throughout our Facebook group and see, okay, what kind of problems are people running into? What kind of questions are they having? And I try to write an article basically answering those questions for them on the problem that most people are having. Oops, we're not on the premium. Let me make sure I'm getting on the premium. Here's our premium post. Military abbreviations, the word's not in a dictionary, 6 features of Myers Gazetteer, 7 tips to decipher mystery words on church records, how to understand suffixes on German last names, different handwriting tips, how to handle outdated causes of death. So lots of in-depth topics for people who really want to get ahead with their records. So that's the gold membership. I put the link in the chat. So if you really, if you want that extra help with the handwriting, we'd love to have you join us. You're welcome to come try it out too. Like I said, it's a monthly subscription. So if you want to try it out for 1 month, see if it helps you, you're welcome to do that. If you aren't feeling ready yet, we also have other levels of premium membership. If I can get back to the page. There's the silver membership where you get the monthly articles. You can still come to that 4 times a year, ask me anything or show and tell. You still get that free reference guide. It's basically everything except for the Ask the Translator office hours. So if you want the office hours, that's the gold. If you aren't ready for the office hours yet, the silver is everything else. And then the bronze is just the articles. So if you just want access to those monthly articles, that's the bronze. So you can just go here, click subscribe me, try it out for as many months as you want. We've had people with us for years, so hopefully you love it and learn a lot. It's been really cool to see people, like I said, people have really learned a lot. So it's been fun for me as a teacher. Does anyone have any questions? I see a couple questions in the Q&A. Let me see if I can click on it. Stephen says, when dealing with Catholic Church records, which would be in Latin, sometimes I've seen a lot of Catholic Church records in German as well. Did the recorder use the German script or a Latin script? Both. I've seen both. I've seen a lot of church records where both people were Catholic and they're still in German, in German language. And the farther back you go, at least in my experience, the more likely it would be that they were in Latin. But I've worked with a lot of Catholic records that were in German. As for the script, I think it would just kind of depend on the parish. Anyone have any other questions about anything about the Ask the Translator group or about anything in general? Luann says, would you translate a note written on a postcard? Me personally or in the group? Either. Yeah, I mean, either way. So like I said, this group isn't usually for entire translations, but if it's like a little snippet, then yeah, that could usually get done within the group. And personally, we do, like if you want to pay for a translation, we do postcards all the time. Hopefully that answers it. Any other questions about anything? Jana says, what is your opinion of the automatic translators? That's one of my favorite questions. Are they worth using? So I always say use them, but don't use them for entire documents. If you're going to use them, I would use them for short words or words, individual words or very short phrases. Because as you saw earlier, I think it was Dave's document. He had the phrase, I'm going to write it in the chat. I lost it. Let's say it was, I don't remember exactly, Johann Hoffman des, no, I can't remember what it was. Verstorbenen, I'm just making this up, not just Verstorbenen, Paul Hoffman. Ehrlichen. So I just made that up. So the phrase that I was looking at, it says Johann Hoffmann des verstorbenen Paul Hoffmanns ehelicher, to be ehelicher son, legitimate son. And that literally says Johann Hoffmann of the deceased or late Paul Hoffmann legitimate son. So if you got that in Google Translate, it would be a little bit confusing with the word order. I'm not positive, but I don't think Google Translate would kind of flip everything around how it should be. So if you do longer sentences or longer phrases, it might get a little confusing and you might get some incorrect information, especially because every single letter and ending in German is very important as to what the meaning is, because it changes the grammar. If you are going to use a online translator, as I said, I like DeepL.com better than Google Translate. It tends to be a little bit more accurate. But just be careful. Try to use some common sense. Don't just automatically believe that everything that the translator says. You can also use Lingui.com. That's a nice little website that shows you the phrase within context. So you can kind of see if that context makes sense for your document. Yeah, Catherine has a great point. And I do this sometimes too. She says, try both Google Translate and DeepL. But yeah, so they did a good job on her husband's Spanish birth certificate from Lima, but it got his birth date wrong and Google got it correct. So yeah, that could be that one site might be better with something and another site might be better with the other. I do actually like that tip, to use both and kind of check them against each other. That's a great idea. Any other questions about the group? I'll post if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. And our next Ask Me Anything or Show and Tell is coming up soon. So we'd love to have you join for that. Any other questions or anything? Genealogy or about the group or about anything? Thanks, Doug. I'm glad it was helpful and fun. Hope you guys learned a lot. I learn a lot. That's why it's fun for me too. It keeps me in good practice with the handwriting, and I always get to learn a lot of websites that I find through looking things up. Yeah, Dennis, I will email the chat to the attendees. And Carol says it's a wonderful program, which also helps me keep at the translation because of the regular meetings. It's great accountability. That's very true. Thanks, Carol. Tree says, is it always on a Wednesday? Yes. But like I said, like we have one member in Australia. So she's sleeping at this time. So she always posts her document on the Tuesday before. So you don't have to be live. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'll post it one more time if you want to join us. We'd love to have you. I'll send out. Would you all like this recording? Is it worth it for me to send it out? Or are you okay with just the chat? All right. If I'm not getting chat, okay, perfect. I'll just send out the chat because it is. Oh, Janice does want the recording. Okay, I'll send out the recording. Give me some time. I'm still trying to catch up from the webinar last week. So I will get it out as soon as possible. But thank you all for coming today. And don't forget to sign up for if you speak some German, for our German Stammtisch, our little German chat session next Wednesday. We're going to be very informal, just kind of try to have fun and practice speaking German with each other. So I'm really excited for that. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, it should have been on your email yesterday. So please come next Wednesday night to that. But thanks for coming today, and I will talk to you all soon.